We thank you for being there with us. I know that you've been expecting it. It's time for Sports Bank, and I'm not the one presenting Sports Bank. One story that caught my interest actually this morning, since last night, was Gianni Infantino testing positive for COVID-19. Today is here, and Feranmi is also here. Good morning, Tunde.
Good morning to you, Sean.
How are
That
you?
is supposed to be the most powerful person in the world of football, the president of FIFA. I'm fine.
But
COVID is not sparing anymore.
he's not fine.
The best player in the world is still under the coach of COVID-19. I say that without apologies.
Debatable.
Okay?
I know that you guys will
And then the
get
president
issues
of
with that.
FIFA.
It's also in this bucket.
It looks like over there, if you don't have COVID, then you're not big enough.
Yeah. Today I'm out.
Okay, yes. Feranmi Adegboyega, I know you're going to have a say on this, but first, let us extend the courtesy of saying good morning to our wonderful people for tuning in at this time. 28 minutes before 8 o'clock, you're listening to the Integrity Station, Splash 105.5 FM. Welcome on board the midweek edition of the program, Sports Bang. It's my pleasure this morning. My name is Tunde Olawuwo. You can be part of this wherever you are on the planet Earth. You can listen to us via Radio Garden. You can download our app. You can also go to our website, www.splashfm1055.com. Just click the icon that shows Listen Live, and of course, you live and direct. And on Facebook this morning, well, we should be saying good morning, viewers. I don't know if you're allowed to say that. Splash 105.5 FM on Facebook is where you are this morning on Facebook. So be our guest and let us do this together. Feranmi Adegboyega, it's a pleasure to have you, joining me.
Yeah, definitely. Always a pleasure to be here. Midweek edition of Sport Bank. Always exciting, always interesting. Of course, we are here to do justice to all the footballing, all the sporting stories making rounds in the last 24 hours. Well, we can say it's been, up and down in the world of sports. Coronavirus cases are, left, right, and center. It's looking like these big guys in the world of football, these big footballers are the one being exposed a lot. And, we know the reason is not far-fetched. These are the guys that actually travel from one country to actually, to another, going from one, state to another in their various leagues. And, with that, you are definitely going to be exposed, to something like this, talking about the coronavirus. But one thing that we are, sure of is that it's definitely not the end of the world. We've had a lot of cases of footballers being, contracted by coronavirus. And, of course, they get to recover at the end of the day. And we know that it's going to be the same with these big guys talking about the likes of Ronaldo and, of course, FIFA president, right? He was actually tested positive yesterday, talking about CR7, and of course, he will not be able to play in this game later tonight against Barcelona. A very sad one because a lot of people are really looking forward to that particular game, talking about Messi versus Ronaldo again. That battle is an everlasting one that cannot end until these two guys retire.
I'm sure even in retirement, for novelty matches, it's still going to look at a bit competitive.
Exactly, they might still be, looking forward to start for novelty match even after retirement. So I think, it's going to be a sad one. We just have to wait until December before we can have this guys going up against each other. But then Champions League yesterday gave us a lot of interesting game. We felt the average teams will not actually step up to the to the table. But hey, these guys show that we are here to also compete as well, not just for the money, but to also lay claim to this particular Champions League.
I've always said that any team you find in the Champions League should be taken seriously.
Definitely,
and that's what we're seeing. Just me sounding a bit cheeky here this morning, I was thinking that this live is about perspectives. You can imagine if, let's say, CR7 and Leo Messi were Africans. Now, perhaps at this point, people will be coming up with funny theories that maybe Messi's got it and
and I know where that theory is coming from. That's what you've been thinking for a while now.
No, that is an unfounded and a baseless theory.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just saying it on the lighter note.
Of course, I understand. Just kidding right there. But I think this has nothing to do with Messi. I think it's just very unfortunate.
I think you'll be unhappy to not be facing Ronaldo.
Definitely, a lot of fans are unhappy because even Messi fans, I think they are unhappy to some extent. Why? Because if Messi shines tonight, night, they will feel it's because Ronaldo is definitely not present.
Not in the game.
Exactly, Ronaldo is not in the game, and they'll be like, okay, you have the floor to yourself. That is why you could do whatever you are able to do right there. And the competition tends to reduce somehow. A lot of people are looking for their staking on this particular game, staking on these players themselves, talking about Messi and Ronaldo, thinking that these guys will face off later tonight. But hey, we just have to wait a little much longer right there. But then it's just what it is right there in the world of football.
Sports Bank, we've got stories coming through from football. The mother of all club competitions was on the show yesterday talking about the Champions League, and today you're going to having them coming through as well. In the world of athletics, something is rocking that world. Now let us start from the home front. The Nigerian Football Federation has announced the appointment of Babafemi Raji as the new media officer of the senior men national team Super Eagles. So it takes over from Tony Bitoye, who has been in the post for 5.5 years. And Raji, presently the group the group manager programs and content at Breda FM, is taking over, and we can only say congratulations. Also on Tuesday, the NFF announced the appointment of Oluchi Tobechukwu as the media officer of the senior women national team, that is the Super Falcons. She takes over from Jane Onyinye Nweze. Wish them all the best, in this new assignment. Quickly, let us talk about athletics because football seems to be looming large everywhere, especially the day after a Champions League match. Reigning 100-meter champion Christian Coleman is set to miss the Tokyo Olympics after being banned for 2 years by the Athletics Integrity Unit. The independent body which combats doping had provisionally suspended the 24-year-old in June for a whereabouts failure and upheld his decision on Tuesday. The World Anti-Doping Agency's whereabouts system requires athletes to let anti-doping officials know where they will be for 1 hour every day, as well as details of overnight accommodation and training venues. If an athlete fails to do so and commit a filing failure 3 times over a 12-month period, they could face punishment. The American sprinter admitted he missed a drugs test on December 9, 2019, the third missed test in the space of a year, but alleges it was set up by the anti-doping agency. Coleman said it had been Christmas shopping 5 minutes away, but had no idea a tester had visited his address for one of the tests. These guys,
these guys are...
they look for every available means to avoid
this testing.
You know the process.
Of course, you know the procedure.
A professional athlete, that these are the rules.
Definitely, these are the rules, and it's so unfortunate that these guys looks like they're not really taking this thing seriously, and this is something that will go a long way in affecting your career. If truly you are innocent, if truly you're not taking any drugs, there's nothing stopping you from making these guys know your whereabouts anytime. You can't miss. You can't be unfounded in 3 occasions, and that was what has actually happened to him at this point in time. I could remember last year also, before Doha 2019. He almost was banned for that particular race before he actually escaped that particular one right there, because he was not found out. There was no way to actually know where he is at that point in time. And again, same thing is actually happening to him at this point in time. So I think these guys should actually take it seriously. These guys should know that it is part of the procedure. It is part of the rules that this anti-doping agency should know where you are anytime, because they feel that we can come to you at any time and say we want to take some test of you. And if you are not available, that's the breach of rule right there. So I think these guys, it's a very, very serious one at this point in time. But then he's still very open to actually appeal this particular one, and hopefully he gets to appeal this, because this is a very, very fantastic athletes right there. I could remember it feels likes of Justin Gatley last time out, and he actually won that particular race, and from there he actually showed himself into stardom. And it's going to be unfortunate to not see that kind of person in 2021 Olympics right there. So I think right now it's just for him to come out and try as much as possible to clean himself and make sure that everything goes well for him and his career, because this might have a huge effect on him going forward in his career.
He won 100 meters gold at the Doha Championships in 2019. But let's look at the severity of this punishment. He's 24 and he's been banned for 2 years.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's 26? Don't you think that's a lot? 2 years.
I think that's just the
for whereabouts failure.
Yeah, for whereabouts failure, I think that's just the
So what if it's
basics, so
caught
to say.
doping? What are you going to give to
If it's caught, it could be more than 2. If it's actually caught doping, maybe 5 or probably 7 or even 10. We never can tell, depending on how these things actually work. But I think the minimum punishment for this kind of breach of rule is definitely 2 years. And he has been given at this point in time. So I think like I said earlier, he can still clear himself if he feels that he's actually innocent of this. If he actually feels that he has enough evidence to show that where I was at that point in time was just a place I needed to be, and that was why I couldn't actually announce my whereabouts. So I think at this point in time, that's something he has to take seriously, because if not, Olympics might just not be happening for him next year.
Okay, let's move on the program, Sports Bank, and we're taking our business right now to Barcelona, where things have been a little bit difficult in the last few months. This time around, we're all hit by, I would say, the bombshell from the Camp Nou. A major shake-up is on the way at Barcelona after Josep Maria Bartomeu resigned as club president with immediate effect. Bartomeu had stood firm amid increasing scrutiny, but announced he and the entire board of directors would step down during an explosive press conference on Tuesday. The 57-year-old had become a divisive figure during his near 7-year spell at the club and was facing a vote of no confidence next month after fans and club members had called for him to leave. Most recently, Bartomeu had been the focus of a very public fallout with Lionel Messi after the Argentine had requested to leave the club this year. Messi criticized the former president for not keeping his word and only said to avoid taking his beloved club to court. The team's performance on the pitch has also put pressure on Bartomeu. His departure comes just 3 days after Barcelona lost 3-1 to fierce rivals Real Madrid in the El Clasico. Don't also forget the 8-2 defeat of last season against Bayern Munich in the Champions League.
That's something we hate to remember. Well, hey, it's what it is.
It's unforgettable.
It's
So now,
yeah.
do you think this closes the chapter of series of crises they've been having at the club?
Well, maybe to some extent. We never can tell. We just have to wait and see. But one thing we are actually sure of is that whatever is happening there at that point in time was definitely as a result of lack of organization from Joseph Bartomeu right there. And it's looking like a jinx for Barcelona at this point in time, because 4 of their last 5 presidents did not finish their tenure. And that's really something terrible. The only person that actually finished his tenure was Joan Laporta, and that was because he
Maybe it's a
didn't.
difficult club to manage.
You can actually say that, because we are talking about some of the toxic fans in the world. Definitely you want to rate Barcelona fans amongst them. I could remember immediately he actually after that loss to Bayern Munich, and he actually sacked Kiki Setién, there was immediately a vote of confidence of no confidence that was actually ruled out for him. A lot of people actually signed. They needed 16,000 and they even got 20,000 at that point in time. And from that on, it was already under pressure. It was already on the hot seat at that point in time. So I think it's just good for both sides, both for Josep Bartomeu and of course for the Barcelona team at large. So I think going forward now, we should wait and see who actually comes on board, because whoever is coming on board, we have a lot of work on his hand at this point in time. A lot of restructuring to do for that particular club, a lot of organization to do for that particular club. He was saying something in his conference yesterday that he should have actually restructured the club 1 year ago, and that shows that this is a leader without vision at that point in time. If you knew that the club was actually going down the drain and you couldn't actually do something quickly to fix that, and now you're actually reaping the effect of that says a lot about your leadership skills right there. So I think like I said earlier, good for both sides, but what's the way forward now? What's the next thing? I still don't see this as a way of making Messi stay. I still feel
you think he will still leave?
I think he should still leave. As far as I'm concerned, I think he should still leave.
So
because,
let me ask you, in just maybe 20, 30 seconds, what do you think can be done at the Nou Camp to make Messi stay?
Oh, well, that's
his contract runs out next
year, yeah.
Meaning that from January, he can agree a pre-contract
definitely
with another club. But do you think anything can be done?
I don't think
maybe buy Neymar, I think because it looks like his frustration has to do with the
project at the club of good players. Definitely, I understand. But for me, I think at this point in time, we should go past the stage of trying to satisfy one player. At this point in time, you need to be able to build your team on a a structured plan that, even after one player leaves, you can still actually continue at that point in time. So I think, if he wants to stay, fine. But if he decides he wants to leave, I think they shouldn't force him to stay at this point in time.
Easy to say now because Messi's 33.
It's not about age,
sure
actually.
If it was 7 years ago, nobody would be cool. No Barcelona fan would be cool to say if he wants to.
But everything was actually working well at that point in time.
Okay, let's talk about the results of yesterday's games. In Group A, Bayern Munich, defending champions, showed why they are still the best team in Europe, and I dare say the world right now, with a 2-1 victory away from home against Lokomotiv Moscow and, of course, Atletico Madrid. Yes, they lost their first game against Bayern. We thought, okay, what's going on? But now they had a 3-2 victory against Red Bull Salzburg. Any surprise in that those two games?
I don't think no surprises for me. I expected Bayern to actually do the needful, and they actually did. And of course, I think Atletico Madrid actually struggled, but eventually they actually won, and that's what is actually important in the game of football. So I think no surprises for me in Group A.
So let's go to Group B, where you had Inter Milan and Shakhtar Donetsk playing a goalless draw. But for Real Madrid, yes, on paper you would say it ended 2-2, Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Real Madrid. But there was a story behind the game. Real Madrid had to rely on 2 late goals to snatch a dramatic Champions League point against Borussia Mönchengladbach.
I mean,
what do you think last weekend, they were on top of the world after beating Barcelona.
It wasn't as if they were doing that fantastic. It was a game between two struggling sides, and one struggler won over the other. That was just the way it is.
It was an El Clasico.
It was an El Clasico that was filled with a lot of uncertainty from both ends right there. But for me, I think they met a very, very formidable match in Borussia Mönchengladbach. I remember I was saying it yesterday that they need to be very careful against this particular team. They're going to Germany. It's going to be a very difficult one, and they have to be very careful. And if not because of the fact that probably the winning mentality is still there for Real Madrid, they could have actually lost that game. As at 86th minute, they were still down by 2-0, and all of a sudden they started picking themselves up, and they actually got a draw in that particular one. So they have to be very careful going forward, even in this Champions League, because hey, you might not be this lucky against the likes of Bayern if you eventually meet them, even against the likes of Manchester City. Remember, they were actually defeated to Manchester City last season in the Champions League. So I think going forward now, a lot has to be done in that particular team to make sure that they are still much more a big team to actually compete for the Champions League going forward.
Okay, you also had FC Porto beating Olympiacos 2-0, and just as I predicted yesterday, it was easy peasy for Manchester City versus Olympic Marseille.
I also supported your prediction.
Reluctantly.
But I did. But I did. That's the most important.
I mean, yourself and Blessing.
Yeah.
I was looking at you with my, funny eye when you guys said, it's Champions League, Olympic Manchester. Like, seriously, depleted or not, the second string Man City side should be able to work against Marseille. So next time, learn to always follow my prediction.
Which I did. Yes.
So try and do it again.
I will.
We also had Atalanta versus Ajax playing a 2-2 draw, and former champions Liverpool 2-0 against FC Midtjylland. We'll take a break right now on the program Sports Bank to catch up with the BBC Premier League updates this morning. We'll be back in a moment. The program is Sports Bank on Splash 105.5 FM.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Andy Barwell at the BBC Sports Centre. Wins for both Liverpool and for Manchester City in their latest UEFA Champions League matches. Liverpool made it 2 victories out of 2 games in Group D with a 2-0 success at home to Denmark's FC Midtjylland, as John Murray reports from Anfield.
Liverpool won it by 2-0 against Midtjylland here at Anfield, so 2 wins out of 2 to were settled, Liverpool, by the opening goal, which was scored by Diogo Jota, but they needed the second goal. Anders Dreyer of Midtjylland could have equalised late on in the game when he shot into the side netting, and just after that Liverpool effectively went down the other end. Mohamed Salah won a penalty and scored it himself.
And in Group C, Manchester City also have a perfect record thanks to a 3-0 victory away at Olympique Marseille in France. Ian Dennis reports.
Comfortable and controlled, and City in charge of Group C. They dictated the tempo from the start against a disappointing Marseille side who lacked belief and ambition. An errant ball from Rongier went straight to De Bruyne, who teed up Torres for the opening goal after 18 minutes. City remained patient and secured the victory with 2 goals in 5 minutes from Gundogan and Sterling late on from close range. The win, rarely in doubt and thoroughly deserved.
And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Okay, great to have you back on the program. Sports Bang this morning. You listen to the BBC Premier League update there. Feranmi, right now, let's talk about tonight's game in the UEFA Champions League. In Group E, Krasnodar against Chelsea, Sevilla versus Rennes. Don't forget that in Chelsea's first game, it was
a goalless draw,
between Chelsea and Sevilla. So what do you say tonight?
I think unless something unfortunate happens, I expect both guys, Chelsea and Sevilla should actually get the win in this particular one. Yeah.
Okay, and in Group F, Borussia Dortmund against Zenit St. Petersburg and Club Brugge versus Lazio in Group F.
Yeah, well, for me, Borussia Dortmund struggled in their last game against Lazio, and of course, this time around they'll be looking to actually bounce back against Zenit. They're still the favorites for me to actually, leave that particular group. So I think their own winning streak, winning the Champions League group stage game should actually start this night against Zenit St. Petersburg. Though I'm not ruling anything away from Zenit, but hey, I still think Borussia Dortmund should have what it takes to be able to actually defeat these guys, and of course, Lazio should actually do the needful against Club Brugge.
Okay, and in Group G, Ferencváros against Dynamo Kiev, Juventus versus FC Barcelona. You know what football fans will call the star match of the Champions League tonight.
This was a match that we predicted a couple of seasons ago in the finals of the Champions League, but hey, it didn't happen, and of course,
it's not happening again.
And it's not happening again.
Maybe it will happen.
Maybe it could happen.
Maybe the two of them will get out of the group.
Well,
it's been equal. They should.
They should definitely, but will they get to the final? That's another big question. But
so
for me,
tonight,
I think this might just be a win for Juventus, because I feel Barcelona are still struggling at this point in time. They are yet to get themselves
Juventus
together.
are struggling in the Serie A too.
Yeah, they have, but compared.
Or is it because they're at home this time around?
I think that home factor would actually go a long way for them as well. But for me, I still think struggling plus struggling. I think Barcelona are still struggling more than Juventus at this point in time, and I feel if they're not careful, they might just lose this particular game. But if they do not lose, I think a draw would actually settle this game.
Okay, lastly in Group H, Istanbul Başakşehir against Paris Saint-Germain and Man United versus Leipzig. For PSG, they've got to find a victory in this one.
Very
after
important.
Surprisingly losing their first game against United at home. I think this should be a work for them.
Yeah, definitely. It should be. I think they should actually do the needful right here.
Neymar, Mbappe, time to come to the party.
Of course, sir.
And of course, United versus Leipzig.
Ooh, another tough one. The Old Trafford right there. RB Leipzig.
The Old Trafford means nothing these days.
Yeah, definitely.
If you look at
can say that again.
In the league.
Yeah. They've actually been struggling even at home.
They haven't won at home, actually, in the league.
In the league, and that says a lot. And they're playing against a very, very formidable team in RB Leipzig. These guys have been so good in the German Bundesliga. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're currently, leading that particular log at this point in time. And it's looking like they're not even missing their stand man. Talking about Timo Werner that actually left there, last season. So I think, it's going to be a very, very interesting one. The one to actually watch out for. And I'm expecting probably another tactical, sense from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The way he did against that PSG, maybe.
But he's facing another, powerful tactician in Nagelsmann.
Definitely. A very young, a brilliant coach right there. And, they'll be looking to actually cancel each other out later tonight. But then, let's wait and see. I think, this game might actually end in a draw for me.
Okay.
Yeah, draw. Yeah.
A draw. We need to leave on this note. Let's look at the front page of the sporting papers that we have this morning. Sporting Live says Jota Salah strike as Red Sea of Danes. Benzema Casemiro scored late goals to end last minute draw. Well, these days I'm getting more interested in the UFC. I just can't get this guy off my head. Israel Adesanya, doing us proud. Looking at his full name, Israel Mobolaji Temitayo Odrayo Oluwafemi Owolabi Adesanya. Representing Nigeria,
typical Yoruba boy
in New Zealand. Wish him all the best. He's the number one rated middleweight fighter in the UFC at this point, and he's worth around $2 million. So he's doing well for himself, right?
Definitely.
Feranmi, we have to go. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Thanks to you for listening as well, and of course to Bosun Alayode this morning for being the magic hand behind this production. My name is Tunde Olawuwo. 4 o'clock today, just football will be all yours. 1 hour discussing the round leather game of soccer. Bye-bye.
Soccer.